So let's bake.
Let's do it.
So wait, we're doing Scotchies?
We're doing a chocolate chip marble bundt cake first.
You're mostly doing that.
Okay.
And then I'm doing it too. And then we're doing Scotchies.
We're doing scotcheroos.
Scotcheroos.
Yes.
But back to the bundt cake, you cannot get more Midwestern than a bundt cake.
Than a bundt cake, that's right. The bundt cake was invented in the Midwest.
Correct.
I mean, it's based off of, German cakes in the mold itself, but Nordic ware, in Minnesota and
Nordic ware, we just have a moment,
Yeah.
with their bundt cake form.
Yes.
And bundt cakes are important because marriages have been brought back together. Neighbor feuds have been quelled.
Yes.
Rivalries have begun.
It's a good
over bundt cakes.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people have their favorite one. This particular recipe is in the chapter of the book called Counter Cakes, which is to say cakes that can be left on the counter and with the knife in the thing, and then you just shave it off every time you pass
when you walk by
the kitchen. Yeah, that's a counter cake.
Sure.
And the idea of any sort of counter cake is that it is going to get better as it sits, and so things that are nice, robust, dense cakes that don't need any sort of frosting or fussy. You could do a thin, confectioner sugar icing or a dusting of powdered sugar, but this is not going to be an all-day affair. This is going to be a really easy sort of thing to do.
So while you start to mix, I'm going to grab your book because I made a cake, and I don't remember, I have to find it, but I made a cake for my mother-in-law.
Yes.
Who I've mentioned previously, who has anosmia.
What's
so
that?
she was in a car accident many years ago, and the nerves that connect her sense of scent to her brain were injured.
Oh dear.
So she cannot smell. Therefore, she has very limited taste. However, she's a badass baker.
Wow.
And she is totally like the grandma that measures by the elbow. She is not a pastry. I mean, she's precise, but in her own way.
Yeah.
But more importantly, texture is everything to her.
Wow.
And she loved your cake.
Which cake?
That's what I'm saying. I can't remember because I'm like, this is a cool book, and I'm going to make a cake. And so now I have to find it.
What an honor.
Well, yeah, and
Okay.
I'm not going to blame it on the
Where's
good.
she? Let's get her. I'm kidding. You're great.
You don't want.
Okay. Well, the thing about this cake is that it's a swirl cake, right?
Okay.
So it has, there is a photo of it in there somewhere. It is a vanilla and chocolate.
Is it this one?
Swirl. No, this is the lemon one.
Okay.
Hold on, it's early on. Let's see it. That's my boy. That's my son. He's so cute. Oh, wait.
We're in Counter Cakes. You'd think you'd know your own book.
Oh, you'd think. That's what's so funny about this. There are good ones in here. Hold on, we'll find it.
Do you get a form
Here it
of...
is.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's totally a swirl cake.
Yeah, it's a swirl cake.
That's a swirl cake, yeah.
With chocolate chips in there, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I would not have been as adventurous to make, so I wouldn't have done that.
Okay.
Oh,
the everyday fudgy chocolate. Yeah, this sheet cake is one that's like one bowl. But the thing I love about it is it uses regular milk and egg. You don't have to buy the buttermilk and put in coffee of the other one bowl. So this is truly like you have all this stuff in your house.
My local bookseller who knows of my food, and I do events for him, he's like, he always sets aside a whole bunch, then I come in. And it's like, these are books you might want to get. And that's how I got your book. And I literally did the magic 8-ball of cookbooks. So I did this, like, and it fell open to Everyday Fudgy.
That's terrible for the spine, first of all, Kyle.
And it fell open to Everyday Fudgy sheet, and that's what I made for my mother-in-law.
It is. That's a good, like, super dense one. That is one that you just you can eat off a napkin, or you can make it into layers or whatever you want to do.
Anyway,
this is one that uses the creaming method, which means that we're going to be creaming together butter and sugar to create an airy batter. The thing that's cool about this cake that I love, and actually I got this recipe from my friend Logan, who used to own a bakery in LA called Butterscotch Bakery, I think it was called. And this was a recipe, I think, from an aunt of hers. And it was so delicious that when I did this chapter, I was like, can I do that? And you will be fully credited. And she was wonderful enough to allow me to use this recipe. But this was something that I had in LA that I was like, this is so Midwest. Like, it just feels so homey and so good. And even though it has some LA roots, it's still made it into the Midwest book. But the great thing about this is that we're actually going to make a chocolate syrup. So if I can have you start putting this together on the stove.
Sure.
We're going to do sugar.
Okay.
So we can add sugar, our cocoa powder. So I believe, because you need 2.5 cups of sugar total for the whole cake. But yes, you put in 1/2 cup of sugar into the pan.
How high do you want the heat on this, my dear?
I think it's just like medium is fine. We actually don't need it to be like crazy boiling.
Sugar than chocolate, yeah?
Yeah, just dump all this stuff in. So granulated sugar, cocoa, corn syrup, which is great, just 1/4 cup.
I don't know which of these is that.
And then there's water. So this is the corn syrup.
It's gotta be, right?
Yeah, that's the corn syrup. Here's your little scraper.
Okay.
The corn syrup, people are always like, oh, can I use honey? Can I use... Technically, yeah, but honey is way sweeter than corn syrup, first of all. And it's got a really strong flavor.
It's also spelled different.
Yeah, and so it's not quite the same. It's spelled different. You could use golden syrup if you really just want to stay, or people have a corn allergy, so I get that.
What's her name? Nadia Bakes. She uses golden syrup.
Because she's British.
Because she's British, but
she has everything good.
I'd never heard of it before, and
no, it's a great sort of substitute in this case.
There we go.
And a little bit of water and
I did the water and vanilla.
We do the vanilla at the end.
Okay, that's what I...
Whisk that in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna whisk this just till it comes to a boil, because the boil will tell us
We being royal we.
The royal we. We will do this until it boils, because that tells us that the sugar is probably dissolved in there. So basically we're making like chocolate syrup.
You know how I know that you're truly Midwestern?
My accent?
No. 2 more guesses. You get 2 more guesses.
I agree with most things you say.
No. Those are all good guesses. You get 1 more.
Because even if you disagree with someone, you go, yeah, no.
No. I know that you're truly Midwestern because this is your cooking demo, but you put me to work immediately.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'll do this other part, I promise.
It's fine.
So as you're whisking this, and at the very end, after it comes to a boil, so you can bump up the heat a little bit on that. Everybody's stove's different, so it's just like, might be medium on mine or a little higher somewhere else. And see, is it bubbling for us yet?
We got some BTUs going here.
BTUs?
Yeah.
Good.
It is not.
Not yet.
But it will be.
Yeah, give it a sec.
Yeah.
And so once it comes to a boil, you can take it off the heat, whisk in the vanilla, and set it aside to cool. Okay. So then maybe I'll move on to.
And what is that? That's like barely a nothing, a teaspoon of.
It is a splash of vanilla that we're going to do to make this part taste good.
Oh, a splash.
A splash.
With all of the. Just a moment ago, you're like, I will not be using inaccurate measurements.
Oh no!
But
yeah,
now,
it's like a 1/4 teaspoon. Because you divide it. You're getting me. That's not nice. Hold on, wait. 2.5. Yeah, so you need 2.5 teaspoons total.
Here to keep you honest.
You are.
Yeah.
So the way that this recipe works is basically we're going to make a big batch of butter cake batter, vanilla.
Awesome.
And then some of it is going to get this whisked into it, and then the rest stays vanilla. So we have a lot of vanilla going in here. It's just like, oh, just make that part taste good. Yeah. Right? Okay, so I'm going to put with this giant awesome mixer, which is
this giant awesome Vollrath mixer.
It's a it is serious.
You can mix some things in that Vollrath mixer.
It's serious. Yeah. I'm going to put the butter in here as best I can. So I like to bake with unsalted butter and then add the level of salt that I want to things. That's pretty typical of most bakers.
So you seem pretty self-possessed. Do you and your husband ever go out for dinner and then you order dessert and you're just like,
I didn't used to be, but I've sort of become that way. But there are places that, okay, this is good. Turn this off because we don't want it to burn.
Okay.
So take that off the heat.
Okay.
Stir this in.
Yep, that's right.
There you go. Good. Yeah, cocoa powder gets nasty if you let it go too far. So as soon as you see the bubbling, you take it off. Very good. Yeah, there are a few places that I will go just for the one dessert, like the Beatrix restaurants in the city in Chicago. They do it's called the Oh My caramel pie. It's like this high. It is just a solid block of caramel custard in like a, I think they do like a butter cookie. It's not even graham or shortbread. It's like they make the cookies and make it. It's the most simple. It comes out looking like nothing, but it tastes amazing. So I'll do that. Like I'll be like, I'll go for that thing.
Yeah.
But
Like a pilgrimage.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But when desserts come out, do you ever sort of like, I'm just not, after the first bite, like this is not.
It's got to be really good.
Yeah.
I think that's what we all want, deep down, right? I mean, there's nothing worse than you go to a place and there's like an apple tart and a flourless chocolate cake and what's the other one? A lemon something.
Yeah,
usually,
you're right.
right.
Yeah, you're right.
And you're just like,
and they all came from the same warehouse, same frozen warehouse.
Well, and that's it sometimes, right? Like you can always tell when you see a pastry menu if they have a pastry chef or not.
Correct. That's correct.
You can always tell.
Yep.
So this is the rest of our granulated sugar. 2 cups goes in with our, I believe it's just 2 sticks of butter. Yes, 1 cup, 2 sticks, 225 grams, however you want to. We've got the oven going at 350. We have our Bundt pan prepped. I'll talk about this off the top too. So I like to prep my Bundt pans with nonstick spray.
Okay.
And then I dust with flour. And this is the way that Nordic Ware does it. This is their party line, so it can't be wrong, right? You can butter it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I find that this works really well, and it's pretty foolproof.
So Jackie Pfeiffer's move that we use is 1 part butter.
Does he make his own mush?
1 part butter to 2 parts flour.
Yeah.
And you make your own mush, and that is like literally never failed me. It's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to do that and
I mean, he wrote that big,
extra step,
beautiful book.
Mix your pan prep.
All these technical recipes, and that's what I took away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is a person who will mix his own pan mush.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. No. And as soon as Nordic Ware was like, do the nonstick spray and the dusting of flour, and that's how we tell people to do it. I'm like, great, good.
Yeah.
Done. What do I need? Bundt pans.
Yeah. Right.
So, not that Jackie Pfeiffer does it. So we've got our butter and our sugar in here, and then we're gonna try and remember what to do. Oh, it's on, and then, does this work? Hold on. On.
Woo! Woo!
I did it!
We're mixing.
Dang, that thing's crazy.
Here's what's cool.
It stops it.
Oh, now we have to start it again, sorry.
Kyle. Okay, now I gotta do it again?
Yeah.
I tell you what, this is just gonna be like practice, so that we can turn up the speed on it.
But look at how easy it is to master a Vollrath mixer you've never even encountered in your life before.
You know what, you're right.
Yeah.
I love the paddle on this thing too, because this is not gonna chip or break. It doesn't have any enamel coating on it, which I actually I like.
I've never thought about that, but that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will wear off after a while.
And who wants enamel in their bakery?
Nobody.
No.
Okay, so we have the butter and sugar going, and then we put, let me see, sometimes when I am creaming butter and sugar, I like to put the vanilla in with the fat as it's going, because I find that it really helps to encapsulate that flavor.
Yep.
So I'll add this in and let this continue to beat. This is great. Look at this, I'm doing it.
I'm proud for you. I'm not proud of you, I'm proud for you.
This is great. I can't fit this in my coat and take it out with me, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, we're gonna turn this up. Because whenever you're creaming butter and sugar, obviously you want this to almost look like buttercream frosting.
It's so great. It's, you know what it smells like? It smells like cookies.
Yeah.
With the vanilla and the butter and the sugar, it's just like, that's all you need. I know there's a lot more, but it smells like cookies.
Yeah, it does. It's a very comforting sort of smell, the beginning stage of a baking recipe. All right, so this takes about 2 to 3 minutes to sort of really get nice and creamy. And you don't want to skimp on your mixing time with the creaming method, because what's going to happen when we add our baking powder in is it's going to get in all those little perforated spots that we're creating by perforating the butter with the sugar, and then it gives us our lift. So you really can tell, especially in a cake like this, Bundt cakes, loaf cakes can be really dense. So you want to make sure that you're taking the time to mix everything properly.
Well,
you want that nice velvety texture when you get a slice. You don't want any big tunnels or holes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to take a moment and to think about how much energy and focus and really artistry went into making a cake before we had conveniences like this.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, it was a half-day commitment.
Like a wooden spoon and
Yeah.
a big forearm.
Crazy.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why cakes were so revered and such amazing things,
Yeah.
because anybody that knew anything about what it took to get any sort of air bubbly separation, moisture layering kind of thing, they just, you know, it was like the space program. Like, you what? You landed a human on what?
Well, this mixer is the
Yeah.
space program right now. I don't know if you grew up with, did your mom use the hand mixer, like an electric
Yeah.
hand? That's what we always had too.
Yeah.
I didn't have a KitchenAid until I was, had my own
Right.
home and
I didn't have a KitchenAid until I got married.
Yeah.
And I really still
And I think
don't.
most people-
I just pay the electric bill for the KitchenAid.
well, yeah, talking about the marshmallow book, my husband still has like PTSD from the KitchenAid running all day long. It just really was insane.
I grew up in a house with an adult now having children, but that was a American emigre, war refugee.
Yep.
So like every gadget of the late 60s and early 70s that came out in the cooking kind of home domestic space, I'm talking about like the electric knife to cut the turkey, right?
I
Like,
love an electric knife. I bought one over quarantine because I was making so much sourdough bread.
yeah.
And I love I love my electric
Anyway,
knife.
we had all of it. So yes, the hand, yeah,
Oh, wow.
definitely.
Yeah, no, I love a nice electric knife. All right, this is looking pretty good, actually. And from here, obviously you want to scrape really well. Get all the way down to the bottom of the bowl. Mm-hmm. It does smell good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I love the vanilla part of this cake because it really is very vanilla-y. It has big flavor and it's just a really good ratio of the butter and the sugar. It's just really
Well, I was so happy when you did your book about vanilla because it's such a dynamic flavoring.
Yeah.
Its history on the globe is incredible. It's a, macro crop or monocrop that we are all screwed if the disease runs through it. I mean, it's such taken for granted,
Absolutely.
but it's so subtle. It's so incredible.
It can be as subtle or as loud as you want it to be.
Well, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
And especially if you're using different varieties of vanilla that you can really play with. I mean, we
Right.
get a lot of Madagascar vanilla, which is the flavor that most of us know. But if
Versus
you're
the
using
Mexican or the
Tahitian vanilla, or when I was doing that book, I got sent this Tongan vanilla that was crazy, or an Indian vanilla that was peppery. It was
Yeah.
spicy
Really?
on the top. Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put the eggs in. I'll do.
I did a thing with a bunch of the
here.
Calvados guys once where they did 7 vanilla recipes with different vanillas from around the world.
Oh, yum.
And it was just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's, vanilla, like so many of the other spices, is the history of colonialism and the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you said that thing earlier about it being, it really is a crop that if the weather, doesn't cooperate, or years ago when all the storms wiped out all of the,
Yeah.
oops, no, I did that wrong. Wiped out all the crops, and that's why vanilla has been so expensive the past few years, because it's just coming back.
It's just coming, and
It
yeah.
takes 2 years from a flower to being the vanilla bean, the glossy vanilla bean, and it's all entirely done by hand. There's nothing about the vanilla harvesting process that can be done by machine. It's all, there's these things, they use the long chopsticks, like tweezers.
Do you know
People
who learned, who basically taught all of the world? So vanilla could only be grown in one spot in the world. And
band around the equator.
Yep.
Yep.
And no, but I mean in one place on the planet. And the pollinators was one species of bee. And it was actually a enslaved person that figured out how to essentially pollinate it,
Exactly.
thus creating a vanilla enterprise for the globe.
Right.
Yeah.
I was confused. I thought you were talking about the growing conditions. You
Oh,
were talking
yeah.
about how the whole thing's
Which, yeah, you're right. It's like a 20-degree kind of window.
just all the way around.
Yep.
Yeah, you
Yep.
can't grow vanilla beans in Detroit.
No. Same with chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're beating in our eggs. That's looking good. Scrape this down. Got all this good stuff on this paddle.
So, yeah, I was going to say, you want to get the granular stuff off into the gooey stuff.
That's the technical term.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in your lexicon of home baking. It definitely is.
It is. Yeah. You know what? That might be what I would say too.
If you were Jackie Pfeiffer here, I probably wouldn't have said that.
He would have some sort of French word for the... Yeah, or I suppose the students also know whatever that word is.
Then he would say "ja."
It's like an emulsion of
Right.
some sort, right? Which is really what we're trying to do. All right, here we go here. Just get all around this guy. I'll just give this one more mix. I'm getting it. It's happening.
So how often do you bake for your family or yourself or friends? How often do you actually bake?
How often do I bake at home?
Are you legit?
Oh, Kyle. Yeah, you know, I would say probably on average like once a week. I mean, when I'm not writing a book, I've got something coming up that's going to be a recipe development project where I have to submit, 6 recipes or so. So I'll start doing that next week, and then I'll be baking every day.
Okay.
But if, we're a normal family, I have 2 kids that I don't want to end up,
Right.
totally diabetic. No, I'm just kidding. But I do enjoy baking for the weekends. Oftentimes I'll, by about Thursday, I'll start thinking about, let's make something for the weekend. I made but it's usually simple things. Like just the other day I did a blueberry sort of buttermilk cake, like a snacking cake in a little square pan, with the sugar on top. And that's all you really want,
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds good with coffee.
For holidays or whatever, then it gets a little bit crazy. But yeah, I'm just kind of like everybody else.
Do you find there's an expectation from neighbors and things like that put upon you?
No, there's not.
Family
what's funny? There's not an expectation put on me, but I find that if people give me things, it's like they think it's like going to be like chopped or something. Like I'm suddenly going to like taste it and like judge it.
Oh, I know that feeling.
I'm like, I'm totally not doing this. This is so nice that you brought me this.
Yeah.
I had a neighbor who made like these cute little like gingerbread cookies, and they were at Christmas time, and they were just homemade and great. And she's like, I felt so bad even like sending them to your house. I was like, shut up.
Yeah.
No. The point is that it's love, right? It's I took the time to do this thing. I'm giving this to you. It does not have to be perfect. In fact, if it is, I'm a little dubious. You know what I mean? Like nothing, stuff that I do is perfect when it has to be, when it's going to be like photographed.
Right.
But even then, I really like food photography that looks like real food. So of course you want to make it nice, but I don't want it to be too nice.
Yeah.
I like to pick the edge off something or
so that it's
cut
unattainable.
into it. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So butter, sugar, eggs. Then we've got, we've got our vanilla in there too. We've got our flour, leaveners, and salt.
Okay.
And this is all-purpose flour in this cake to make it really super easy. I'm just gonna, I don't want to dump the whole thing in.
To your point about it being like nibbled on, I think that was one of the more charming aspects of Samin Nosrat's book. Even though there were sketches, they weren't even photographs. But there were little bits
Yeah, that book's illustrated.
bitten off that was so charming.
Ooh, yeah, that's sweet. That's a great book.
Yeah.
All right, so we're mixing that in. And then I'm also gonna put in the milk. Now, I should have kind of done this in batches.
Whole?
We'll go slow. Yes, this is whole milk,
Okay.
which is really adds to sort of the richness.
Because you're in Wisconsin, so it's sort of a thing.
I love Wisconsin. Wisconsin is one of my favorite places. I was always happy to come here for researching the book. I'm going to turn this down to the lowest speed so that I don't over.
Look at you mastered this thing.
I'm trying. Here we go. On. Here. I forget this thing turns it off.
If you open it.
There's a spout, Kyle.
Yeah,
Hello.
those Volrath folks thought of everything.
They thought of everything.
It's a spout right there.
I'm sorry.
It's that white thing that sticks out in sort of a
has been staring at me the whole
angled.
time. All right, so when you do this cake, it can be better to alternate, do a little flour, do a little whatever, and I didn't do that, but it's gonna be fine. The beauty of a counter cake is that if it is a little bit, sort of denser, it's not that big of a deal.
Because it's just gonna sit on the counter and get a little.
It's gonna get even better.
Yeah.
All right, so this looks pretty good to me. All right, let's take this guy off here. How do we, there we go. Nice. Now we can really get in here and scrape all this stuff off. So at this point, we have a really sort of basic butter cake batter. Lots of vanilla, sugar. It's nice and yellow from all those egg yolks.
From healthy egg yolks.
Healthy egg yolks.
Which is a cool thing.
And I'm gonna get in here and really make sure that the whole batter is well mixed. If it looks a little curdled at this point, it's fine.
Okay.
Don't be too.
But you really don't need to do that to make sure it's well mixed because it's a Volrath mixer.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So you're good.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so.
So to half of this, we add El Chocolat.
Correct.
Okay.
And actually, I think it's more like, I kind of keep it to like a third, I believe. Yes, a third of the batter into a medium bowl. And this is eyeballing it, okay?
I can't get over the fact that you're doing all of this in your Run DMC Adidas clam shoes. So, I mean...
I love these shoes.
That's what I mean about subversive, you know?
These are my cool mom shoes, Kyle.
You're kind of subversive.
I used to wear Converse for a long time, and then something happened after I had my son, and those things just did not feel good anymore. It was like too flat.
You had to switch brands.
Yeah, I did. And
So is this a very scientific parsing out of the 1/3, 2/3?
No, you know what you could? You could weigh the whole thing.
Yeah.
Do like that.
Right.
If I'm doing for photograph, I will do that.
Yep.
We're not going to do that today, though, because this is real life. I am going to put the chips, that's right, the chips go into the white batter.
And these are, what kind of chips? Are these milk? Are they dark chocolate? Are they like, how much cacao? Like, what's going on?
This recipe calls for semi-sweet chocolate. I actually am a huge bittersweet chocolate fan.
Amen.
But in this case, sometimes you want it, the semi-sweet chocolate. It's like, and I was such a bittersweet chocolate person for so long, and then I realized, no, you know.
And the butterfat can really be your friend.
Yeah,
it can. In the semi-sweet.
Because when you bake it and then it sets up, it still stays a little bit soft. And I think if you had a bittersweet chip in here, it'd be kind of a little too crunchy.
Right.
This
Al
way,
dente.
Al dente, exactly. Exactly. All right, so let's do our best to sort of visually.
It's taking all of my white knuckling restraint to not stick a finger in there and just, I'm just letting you know that this is.
Now.
That's respect right there, Shauna.
You can have it as soon as I'm done.
It's respect for your craft.
As soon as I'm done, you can have it. I will say that the more I have experienced making this cake, the more I've realized that I kind of like to go a little bit. I'm actually going to take a tiny bit out.
Okay.
So it's still a third, but it's sometimes easier to schloop.
It's like a third, but it's like the 3 is a little smaller.
Exactly. So into this.
Okay.
And this can still be a little warm. I don't think it's like, no, it's boiling hot. That's cooled off nicely. This is going to go in here. We'll pour that in there.
Sure.
And then we'll have our 2 batters, essentially.
And do you want good to the last drop kind of thing, like spatula?
Yeah,
like
get it all.
Get it all.
Get it all in there.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. And the corn syrup that's in here is really going to help to keep the cake super moist too, which I know is not everybody's favorite word, but it is what it is. And that's the thing.
I think super moist is 2 words.
That's true. Yeah. Super moist. It is hydroscopic. Is that the word? Where it draws the moisture from the air. Yes. And it will continue to make the cake.
Bringing the knowledge to the
better.
college.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what I'm going to do, this has been sort of pre-floured. This is a lot of flour for me. So I'm going to tap this out a little bit more. But that's what you always want to do when you flour a pan. You want to put, a little more than you think, and then see if it clings.
You got to bring that up. You got to bring that violence up to the cameras.
I'm trying to put it in the sink so I don't make a mess.
What? It's not a problem. It's not a problem.
I'm not going to do. This is like my house. I'm not going to.
How I know you're Midwesterner. Totally.
I don't want to make a mess.
You are so Midwestern. Put me to work. Nice to me, even if I say something that's a little, and then I don't want to make a mess.
I don't want to make a mess.
Yeah.
I want you to have me back.
Yeah.
What would your mom say?
A Midwesterner has the kind of weekend where someone has a heart attack, they're in a car crash, and someone else loses their job, and the person sees them on Monday and says, "How was your weekend?" They're like, "Not too bad."
Not bad.
Not bad.
I did some yard work.
Yeah. It was okay.
All right, so now that we have our two batter, whisk
Yeah.
that in
Oh, whoa,
so that it
sorry.
looks like chocolate batter.
Oui, chef.
Yes, yes. And then I'm gonna start kind of putting all this together, so.
But not chocolate, like not full emulsion.
No, you want it completely whisked, so it looks like chocolate cake
Oh, I
batter.
do?
Yeah, that's
Oh.
what's cool about this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, the swirling comes after we add.
Oh, that's sneaky.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people.
Again, totally white knuckling, not putting my finger in here. And
Totally
just like,
great.
Just.
Some people will do, you know, if you're not as confident about your marbling skills with a knife, some people like to take, you know, an ice cream scoop or something and then do like scoop, 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 scoop,
Yeah,
like
that makes good sense.
And
sure.
that's great.
Cool workaround. Yep.
And I mean, it's fine. I kind of like this part.
But
So
you have probably marbled a couple 5 times.
I have
Yeah.
a time or two, and the thing I've learned is don't do too much. Don't
Okay.
keep going.
Okay.
All right, we got that.
If only the Romans had learned that.
There you go. All right, so we've got this, and then, so I've done one layer of the vanilla batter, and then all the chocolate can go in.
And then you do another layer of vanilla.
And then we're gonna end up with the rest of the vanilla batter on top. Okay. Beautiful. Get all that in there. My kids hate me. They're like, why do you get so much out of the bowl? I don't leave enough. I want it all in there.
It's true.
You could try it. And then I'll take
Oh, that's
this.
good chocolatey.
It is, isn't it?
Wow,
It's very,
yeah.
very good. It's like upscale Hershey syrup, sort of.
So this is not like, you're just kind of letting gravity do its thing.
Yeah, pretty much. So it will come, what we're just trying to do is add a few blobs of this to give us something to marble with at the very bottom.
Okay.
And then let's get all this good stuff in here with all our chocolate chips.
And it isn't a whole coverage kind of deal. It's a...
Not at the end,
Yeah,
no. So we've
okay.
got the nice base layer there. And then we will take any kind of, you know, knife that you have. We have this here. And I'll probably do,
a paring knife?
instead of, yeah, you can use a paring knife, you can use a bigger knife. This is gonna be fine. When I like to do this, a lot of people wanna get in here and just kind of move stuff around.
Right, get all Jackson Pollock.
Right.
Yeah.
But I actually find that like a figure 8 sort of motion where you're sort of pulling it over.
Oh, like a gentle fold.
Yeah, it's kind of like folding, but I go back and forth like that.
Okay, cool.
And so I'm not gonna, you know, maybe once or twice around the pan, once you sort of see what
So
you've
when
done.
you write a cookbook, my dear, how do you explain that?
I think I actually said, make a figure 8 motion, because we want to get some of this vanilla up here. So I'm not overdoing it, right?
Right.
And that's all you need to do pretty much, because this will bake, and like you said, with
Right.
gravity, it kind
Yeah.
of the design figures its way
Yeah.
out. With this, I said to put a knife, lightly swirl the batters together with a figure 8 motion once or twice around the pan. So it's that once or twice that hopefully people will read and not go,
Right.
because then it all
Right.
just gets muddied, right? So a lot of times when I'm writing a recipe, while I'm doing something, I try and think of what it looks like visually, or what's the thing that I would tell somebody if they were standing right next to me and they were doing it. I go, oh no, just once around, or figure 8, or whatever. And then I'll stop and I'll write that down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, what's
right,
that
right.
thing that I would actually say
Yeah.
to somebody? And a lot of times people get what you mean.
So it seems to me,
And then this is it. This just goes in for about like an hour,
oh,
350.
into the oven.
Yep, 60 to 70 minutes. So we'll see what this one does.
Depends on your oven.
Yeah,
And then if it's totally perfect and beautiful and comes out,
just like that.
it looks like this.
So pretty.
It's so pretty.
Now, I will say that another tip for bundt cakes that I really love is when you take it out of the oven, set it on a rack and let it cool for about 15, 20 minutes in the pan.
Yeah.
You still want it to be warm when you turn it out, but you want to give it that time to sort of regain some of its integrity. You know, if you
I
turn
do
it
know
out
what you mean.
too soon.
It's like resting a steak.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is kind of like resting a
That's
steak.
the chemistry.
Yeah. So you want just enough for this cake to sort of hold its shape.
Yeah.
But not so much cool that it solders itself to the pan.
Because the cooling, well, it's on a rack, buy a rack. If you're going to bake, buy a rack.
Oh yeah.
The cooling
Buy
on the
two
outside,
racks.
by 2 racks, it's true. You get the crispiness with the cool air, which you want. But inside, the heat's still going.
Oh yes,
So it's
a
still
Bundt
kind of
cake,
baking.
something that's this dense. I mean, that's why the bake times are so long, you know, and sometimes the temperature's lower, like 325, so that you can get that longer, bake time. But yeah, it'll hold heat for a long time. And once you unmold it, let it cool completely before you slice it.
So what was charming about you when you first came in, before there were any cameras on? We said hello out there, you came in. Your eagle eye immediately went to the cake and said, oh good, it got out of the mold.
It's always, even if you have all the tips.
Totally, it was charming, but I want your Midwest mind, baking mind, to tell me, like, what are some of the things you can do when it doesn't come out of the mold?
When it doesn't come out?
Yeah.
You go, the cake didn't come out. I'm sorry, the cake didn't come out. I put it back together. That's what people say. And you're like, it tastes really good. I'm sorry. And then it's fine. It's still cake.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we had, actually, when we shot this in the book, I didn't take my own advice because we were doing like 10 recipe shots a day.
Sure.
It was
you're
a little
cranking.
crazy.
Yeah.
And I thought ahead and I thought, okay, I will bake the cake at the end of the day. I'll do the Bundt and then I'll come back in the next day. Well, everything got crazy. I forgot the cake was cooling. I didn't unmold it. It came in the next morning, totally soldered to the pan.
Oh, totally.
And I'm
Like, yeah.
so then I had to start the day like
Mortar.
remaking the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not getting that thing out
No.
at that point.
No. Slice it up. Non-electric knife.
Non-electric knife, a nice serrated knife is always good for dense cakes like this. And it
Slide
is
this
like
over.
really, really dense and good. This is a fun one. Let's see if we get a nice swirl in here. Ooh, yeah, look at that.
Look at this,
so
beautiful.
beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
And I love a Bundt that has this traditional Bundt shape because it's like, what size piece do you want?
Right,
Do you
that's
want
true.
the smaller
That's
one
so
or
true.
do you want the bigger?
Says a lot about who you are, your day,
Which one do
like
you
where
want?
you're at.
Your
Yeah.
day, your mental
day.
state.
Yeah.
I need not the ridge. What
Yeah.
would be the names with the hump and the ridge?
I
need a ridge.
So I don't know, it's how I tell which months have 31 in them.
But yeah.
The knuckle
Yes!
of the Bundt.
That is such a good, I have to smell it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Can I take a bite? Am I allowed to
Of
eat
course
this?
your
I
own
actually
cake,
haven't-
I think
haven't
you
tasted this in
totally
quite some
can.
time.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Yeah. I like that because my initial desire would be to drizzle some melted chocolate over this, but there's already chocolate chips inside.
Yeah.
So
And when you taste that, you'll go, oh, it doesn't need it.
right.
Because this chocolate layer in here is so fudgy, and it has the corn syrup in it as well. So
Right.
it's like, that's really dense. So it would be kind of overkill unless you did like a bittersweet, something bitter, like if you really tried to offset it. But I think it's great just the way it is.
The crisp is perfect. I feel like Mary Berry here, but really the crisp is perfect.
It's a good bake.
I would rather be Mary Berry than Paul Hollywood any day, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean,
All right, so that's the Bundt.
All right.
Is our oven on? Can we throw this in here? Okay, great. Let's just not waste this guy.
we're just going to bunch it up.
Now, here's something I'll do. I like to put it in the lower part of the oven, usually in about the lower third for really dense cakes like that, because it helps with the longer bake.
Yeah.
The top won't get overdone, and then the heat comes from the
This
bottom.
makes good sense.
So yeah, I do that with like, loaf cakes, banana breads, all that stuff, usually lower third, and then you get a more even bake.
Oh, banana bread. Is there anything more Midwestern than banana bread?
No.
Yeah.
I think actually the first banana bread that was published was in 1933 in a Pillsbury. Mary Ellis Ames.
I'm having a food history soulmate moment.
Yeah.
Does it go
Mary
any further?
Ellis Ames was like
Yeah,
the
I'm
Martha
just,
Stewart. You know what I mean?
I know. It's so great.
No, but I mean, that's how cool it was. That's what was really cool about this book is every time I thought of something that tasted like home or felt Midwestern to me in some way, I could always trace it back. Always. And so much of it had to do with the home economics teachers and women who majored in home economics and then went on to work for the big food producers who needed recipe developers. And so that's why we got these recipes that turned out to be iconic.
That I didn't realize. That's cool. Yeah.
And most of the home economics programs were at the big Midwestern colleges.
Yeah.
And it was, mostly a way for women to go to college. Isn't that cute? You can go and study home economics and then graduate and become a professional housewife was the idea. But what ended up happening is some of these women were like, I don't think so.
Right.
And then when all these companies grew, they had a need for women with this expertise. And then they broke out and started becoming the most important thing in terms of these companies promoting their products, you know?
Right.
And it's such an amazing, I always loved home ec in school, and I really did like a deep dive. There was actually a whole essay about home economists in the book that had to be cut because it was just totally extra, but I went way...
You're getting a little obtuse here.
I went way, but so much of it is the Midwestern sensibility was my point that led to these recipes and these women thinking the way they think, and how home economics is such a multidisciplinary thing. It's biology and it's, nutrition and
it's
math
life skills.
and life skills.
It's life skills. And if we still taught it in high school, we would not have $37 billion spent on diabetes a year in this country, because people would know how to cook and other things, and like sew a hole in their sock and just change a tire, for God's sake, and a few other things that,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure that had my home economics classes in junior high had something to do with me. And that was always my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Cool.
Story time.
And you grew up outside of Chicago. I mean, general Chicago area.
Yes, I grew up in a number of different suburbs. We moved around a lot, but
Witness protection program?
Right.
Yeah, sure.
No, went to a bunch of different schools, and my mom was she liked to buy houses and fix it. I don't even think you'd call it like flipping, but she would, maybe that is kind of what she did before it was cool. So we did move around, but it was always in the same area. And my family was always around here, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay,
So,
Scotcheroos.
Scotcheroos, fun. Let's get this off to the side here. This is really quick, although with our talking, it could take an hour. Who knows? This is a Midwestern classic.
Did you say something? I'm having another piece of cake.
I have it. I was worried you were eating it. I was like, oh my God, is he allergic?
Oh, no, God, no.
Okay.
Are you kidding?
Okay, good.
I'm allergic to an unsliced cake.
So Scotcheroos are a favorite. This was something that you've had these before.
Well,
right?
no, now that you brought that over, like I'm overwhelmed by the scotch,
the
by
butterscotchiness
of it all.
This just completely not artificial butterscotch chip. I was like, do I find a way to make them? No. We've got to use the butterscotch chip. This was not going to be we're going to make our own butterscotch. Some Midwestern aunt would kick my ass if I did that. So the Scotcheroos needed to have the butterscotch chips, and these are kind of, it's a cereal treat. They're really crunchy and chewy and crispy. It's almost like the center of a really great candy bar, and then you melt the chocolate and the butterscotch together, and it gets like slicked over the top. But it's very simple to do. This is like a Midwestern slumber party classic. And actually, this is...
You went to totally different slumber parties than I did. I got to get that out there.
Well, no, I mean, you guys get some girls together. What can you make? And your mom's like, So this is something, actually a friend of mine who's from Hartford, Wisconsin, this was the first time I had Scotcheroos was at her house. And she was a friend of mine from college, so I came kind of late to the Scotcheroo thing. But they're really, really good. So basically what you want to do is start with the goo stuff.
Okay, so peanut butter.
Which is going to be peanut butter, yes. And I'm going to turn this down a little more. I love to use, for most baking, there's a couple of recipes in the book where I say natural peanut butter, but for the most part, I really just like to use commercial peanut butter.
But is it a peanut butter or a spread? Because the spread's got the palm oils and all that sort of thing.
So
and I know sometimes that's good for baking. Like you wouldn't want to give it to your kids every day, but you know what I mean?
Well, no, it's like Skippy or Jif or one of those brands. You know what I'm saying? And it's not the one that's just going to be peanuts, oil, and salt.
Yeah, so it's probably a spread.
It's got a little bit more of like it's emulsified. And it is, it's good for texture, and it's good for, in something like this where you want it to be sort of really chewy and smooth.
Yeah.
There is a peanut butter cookie in the book where I say to use natural peanut butter, and it has a completely different peanut flavor to it.
Because you want that big old peanut flavor coming forward.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So we're going to stir this up. I'm actually going to have you do that.
All right, sure.
Okay.
I was waiting.
I'm going to, turn up the heat a little bit more there. And then also into this, we can put, and that was more corn syrup.
Right.
I have 2 recipes in this book with corn syrup, and
you
I
brought
just
them
realized that on the way here, I was like, oh my God, I'm like, you know, people are going to think this whole book
It's okay.
is corn
This
syrup.
is not the Today Show. This is a better series, quite frankly.
I'm not here for big corn syrup or anything, like trying to like sneak it in. But, you know, I know people have issues with that sort of thing. I ran into it a lot with, this is light brown sugar, the official flavor of the Midwest. You know, people have issues with it.
Right.
But the thing is that most corn syrups that are the major brands that we know are not high fructose corn syrup anymore. They've reformulated them. Not to say it makes it healthier. It's just if people have issues with that, that's one thing to know. And also, you know, people, again, are always like, can I use honey? Can I use golden syrup? I would not use honey in this recipe.
So what is golden syrup?
Golden syrup is from cane. It's cane sugar.
Oh.
And so it's like just a really dense, like cooked down sugar syrup.
Okay.
So it has almost kind of like a nice light caramel flavor. You can't swap it for corn syrup in everything. I mean, if you're doing like a candy, you know, recipe, just use, you know, use the recipe. There's a reason why it's there, right?
Right.
Okay.
I've got to say, this Vollrath pan, it's a pleasure to
I like the weight of it, and I like this thing.
Yeah, there's a handle. Is it called a handle?
A handle.
Yeah.
Right.
So we want no lumps of the official food of the Midwest. What did you?
The official flavor of the Midwest. Brown sugar and butter.
Brown sugar and butter. Yeah.
I usually am like a big dark brown sugar fan, and especially after coming off the third book, Real Sweet, I used a lot of dark muscovado sugar, which is like dark brown sugar on steroids. It's got the real molasses in it. It's like unrefined, and I love those flavors. But I found that a lot of times dark brown sugar was just sort of wrong in a lot of these recipes. I was like, it's a subtle difference. But then once I switched to light brown, I was like, there it is.
Interesting.
That's what my grandma always had.
Yeah.
It's,
probably, I mean, it's one of those things like probably just easier to get at the time.
Yeah, maybe.
There's so many, there's a couple of my, I guess my mom's, and maybe there's some grandmother hand-me-downs, but it's like her lasagna recipe, you think, really? But then you're like, oh, that's what the A&P had, you know? So, yeah, you were getting creative.
Oh, there's a lot of weird Midwestern lasagnas, man. You're like, that's not lasagna. That's got tortillas in it. What are you doing?
This one's legit.
No, I've seen many a funny lasagna recipe in my...
Well, then it stops being that thing that you describe it as being. You know what I mean? Yeah.
All right, so basically what you want to do is not get your heat too high. We can almost sort of smell some of the peanut butter right now, which almost smells a little too toasty. I was like, I don't want to smell that cooking,
good point. Don't toast it.
Peanut butter smell.
So we are not blooming the spices.
No, we are not blooming the spices this time. But what we do want to see, and
look at that.
It looks really good.
I mean,
it turns into like a caramely, crazy.
Yeah, totally.
I know.
It's
really great. What I say in the book is you want to let this go until it threatens to bubble. You know when you're looking at something thick like this and you're like, oh, it's about to. So you know that it's hot.
I could screw this up at any moment. Yeah.
But yeah, that's usually a good thing.
Do you think we're there?
I think so. Is it threatening to bubble?
Well, not quite.
I think it's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks pretty. And if you're really like super in doubt, this shouldn't be super hot, or like Nigella says, I have asbestos hands, so it's not going to burn me. But I'll take it, and that doesn't feel really granular, right?
Right.
You just want to dissolve all this sugar. And you've got it off inside. Good job, Kyle.
Thank you.
Good stirring. Okay, we'll take this off and then put in just a little tiny splash of vanilla.
Vanilla.
And like a lot of recipes in this book, I found that...
Whoa, that changed it all. No, that changed the scent. It completely.
Did it sizzle?
It didn't sizzle at all. No, it's just the scent of everything.
Oh,
like I was getting the buttery, nutty thing, and then the vanilla came in, and it was like in Wizard of Oz when it all goes to Technicolor.
Oh, that's a good metaphor.
Yeah. Well.
So I think something I found with a lot of these, kitschy old school recipes is a little bit of salt and vanilla really help to sort of elevate things. And a lot of the recipes in the book, I tried to find ways to modernize them to our taste, because especially if things were inspired by an old, community cookbook from the 50s.
Right.
Tons of sugar, just so much sugar. And it's not a health standpoint, it's more just what we want for our palate now,
Right.
So that was what, a lot of the, the handful of recipes I was redoing, and even stuff that, like that were on that list that my grandma had made for me. I was like, oh, it needs just a little
We found your next book title, which is Salt and Vanilla.
salt and vanilla.
Seriously.
I haven't done a salt book yet.
No.
Okay, so we have our Rice Krispies, or crispy rice cereal, as you have to call it when you're writing a cookbook. We're just going to stir this in like this while it's still warm.
All right,
so
back
you
to work.
Stir. This is, I think,
I don't want to
5
bruise.
cups.
I don't want to bruise the crisps, though.
Yeah, don't. Just really, so that's why it's important for it to still be a little bit warm.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it warm enough.
Oh, they're snap, crackling, crack. You know what I'm trying to say.
If you don't get it quite warm enough, then this will become a little bit more difficult. But see, you did this just right. So it's still a little bit fluid. Also, I didn't put quite as much cereal as other recipes have because I wanted more goo.
So you want all these bad boys coated,
yes,
basically.
just like we're making a Rice Krispie treat. So we want syrup wrapping every single little thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so then in a separate bowl, hopefully these should be microwavable, we're gonna combine our chocolate chips. Now in this case, I did forego the semi-sweet for bittersweet.
So this is bitter. Oh, good.
For the balance.
Yeah.
That really helped. And I put in 6 ounces of butterscotch
and
chips.
peanut butter and bittersweet, like,
super good.
I mean,
So
French
good.
movies and subtitles, right? Fishing and lures, like, they go together.
They go together.
They go together. Tea and sympathy, like all of it.
We all need tea and sympathy right
Okay, I've got some peanutty Rice Krispie treats going here.
now. Okay, so that was, okay,
that is-
fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, let me do my, okay, power level, high. There we go. All right, we'll get it going for about a minute, but I'm gonna check it because I have no doubt that this Vollrath microwave is intense.
It's all good.
All right, so after you get all this, and then my trick for when I make cereal Rice Krispie treats or anything else, do not pack this down into the pan. Do not press it down when you spread it, because then when it sets, and this goes for the plain marshmallow ones too.
They're hard to bite through.
They're really hard. Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
So just think keeping it airy and crisp.
Sure.
And not packing it down too much. And then also, when you slice into them, they look like chunkier.
Yeah.
My wrist looks really awkward right now, but that's just the way things are going. Okay, go. Thank you. All right, so really
There was some
lightly.
nice baking strength.
Nice baking
That
strength.
was, yeah.
I was like, my wrists are, I've been doing too many planks, Kyle. Got sore wrists. All right, so you can see I'm not packing it down. I'm just nudging it into the corners. And I'm always careful with these sort of things to really get a nice corner, because I always line like this so
Right.
that I can pull this out, put it on a cutting board, and you'll get nice clean slices and you won't be like hacking at your pan.
I love that.
So I like to make sure I get nice corners.
So is that the reason for the tinfoil, to protect the pan, or?
It's easy cleanup, and
Yeah.
then you can lift it all out in one slab.
Oh.
I do that
Oh,
with
the
all
wow
my-
moment.
Wow. I do that with all my bar cookies, blondies, cereal
Sure.
treats, whatever. Certainly was not that way growing up. We always just had scratches in all of our 9x13s.
Can I mix this up for you?
Yes,
Yeah.
you can. Do we
Spatula?
have a clean spatch?
I'm sure we.
Here, I'll just rinse this one off.
Okay.
This is fine.
This is totally like cooking at home with Shauna Sever.
It's great. I'll rinse it for you.
We just had like kids and dogs running through. This would
Oh,
totally
God.
be.
The
I don't know
kids
if you have a
and
dog,
dogs. I love my kids. My
but dog.
kids
You
are
have
great.
a dog?
And I have a dog, yes.
Okay, we have a dog.
Jake.
Got it. Jake. Oh.
Jake's in the book.
Jake's in the book.
He's in the first picture of the book.
Oh, I think I probably knew that,
The
but I
family,
didn't.
yeah.
It's not
He's
the
like
kind
a
of thing.
dog model. He was so funny. He was just like, couldn't believe that we'd actually taken him somewhere for such an event. He was just like so smiley and happy to be there. He's like a collie corgi mix.
Oh.
So he has really short legs, and like he got really fat but never got taller. So he's got this like Napoleon complex, and he barks constantly. Here, let's pop this back
Sounds
in.
delightful.
Oh, he's just not inside, but I'm one of those people that can't handle a barking dog. So I'm like,
Yeah.
just go and get back in the house. Okay, we'll do one more minute here. So it's always a good idea to take it out, stir. I mean, better
Right.
for it to take longer than for it to burn. Right?
So this is just going to be all melted,
this is the
all
topping.
mixed together.
slicked over the top.
And then blast.
A perfect opportunity for an offset spatula.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorites.
Really? Mm-hmm. So that would be like fish spatula, offset spatula.
Whisks of
different sizes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dollar store parchment paper.
Dollar store parchment paper.
Yep. You know. Yeah, this is good. I always take it out when it's still just a bit lumpy because, first of all, you don't want chocolate to seize. You're already kind of taking a risk by microwaving it. Mm-hmm. But it is so much easier than using a double boiler.
Right.
But what that means is you got to watch it and take it out when it's still a little bit lumpy and let just that residual heat of the chocolate do the rest of the melting.
So I would go double boiler only because it keeps my hollandaise making skills up. I'm serious.
You make hollandaise?
You know what I do, but it's like I have like 6 moves, right? Or maybe 9 on a good year. And hollandaise sauce is one of my moves.
Well, what do you, see, I'm not an egg person, which I know is weird because I bake and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But if you give me like an egg on a plate, I'm like, I can't. So I don't eat a lot of hollandaise in my life, but I would try yours. Because usually hollandaise goes over, delicious egg thing.
Yeah, mine is pretty much the same as everybody else's. It's like Escoffier started it and I just took his recipe and made it from there.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
All right, so all this goes over and this just smells just like childhood, that butterscotch chip smell. I don't know, man.
Like there should be mown grass and like I don't even know.
A sprinkler.
Yeah, in the background because that's.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I really love super high quality chocolates and, I get how some people get to be snobs about certain ingredients, but there are certain times that a butterscotch chip is necessary. like oatmeal cookies with butterscotch chips. I don't always have it, but when I do, it's kind of something fun. It's always like, I'll have an extra bag because of a recipe developing thing, and I'll be like, oh, what am I going to do with this? And it's always just
That happens to me too, where I have an extra bag of butterscotch chips.
Well, my son is so funny. He found one, he's like, can I make something? And I'm like, sure. And he's like, I'm going to invent a butterscotch steamer. And I was like, what? And he really did come up with this whole thing with like warm milk and whisked in the butterscotch chips and some white chocolate, and he put a little salt. It was like balanced.
Starbucks got it,
I was like, what is happening? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, because he couldn't read or write, he's like, can you help me write this down? So funny. All right, so yeah.
And you probably said, oh, not another recipe.
Not another one. It's like, well, what's hard is when you're doing it and you're just like, no, that's not how you,
right.
That can't be the order. It's got to be the order that it's in the method, bud. What? I'm like, yeah, the order you use in the method, you got to write it in the list. He's like, I didn't know that.
So we put this in the blast freezer.
Yes.
Or just the refrigerator?
Or your refrigerator.
Or your refrigerator.
Or however much time you have, it will eventually solidify at room temperature, but no one ever has time to wait. So this.
But you could overnight it, just cover it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and overnight it.
It will set up at room temp.
Yeah.
Totally.
But how long in a refrigerator before? Like an hour?
Yeah. No, it'll just, chocolate firms up really fast. And I might actually do that in the freezer, just to do it really quickly.
So, through the magic of pre-baking.
Should we do this over here again?
Yeah, let's do it over here, yeah.
And then we have this beautiful knife, which will be fun. And I can show you my little trick.
This is so fun because a lot of times, well, almost all the times when we do these demos now, there's, a dish and then everyone in the crew and what have you will get a bite if they're lucky. We've got baked goods for, also, how I know you're Midwestern. I keep coming up with proof.
The title of the book, Big Bold Baking and that was really part of it, is when I came up with those 5, sort of what I call the 5 tenets of Midwestern baking, which I really did for myself to sort of give structure.
Purpose?
Yes. It's on the back of the book.
Oh, but no, but this is a quiz.
All right.
All I got is purpose. Yeah.
Bake big.
Bake big.
Bake easy.
Bake easy.
Bake with purpose.
Bake with purpose. I got purpose.
Bake from the past.
From the past, that's right.
And bake in the present.
Can't believe I forgot the
So
past.
take something familiar and don't be afraid to innovate, because innovation is an enormous part of the Midwestern sensibility. Taking what you have and doing something cool and creative with it.
Yeah.
And that goes for just about any industry that you can think of, but particularly with food. So we have, it smells so good.
It really does.
And then I don't remember.
I love the creep. Like just the.
Oh yeah,
Those are the
little
pieces I
ruffly
want, right?
edges. Yeah. So I'll cut a little bit of this up. Need a little bit of muscle. But it's one of those kind of things that feels like really satisfying to cut through.
I was just thinking that.
Like,
it sounds satisfying. Like that was a good cut.
I like this recipe because you can obviously get as many as you need to out of this. And I love doing this for cookie tins, like around the holidays, and doing them like little fingers, like skinny little.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can tuck those in with other things.
Right.
But if this is just what you're doing, and this is your thing, then you want a nice bite.
Right.
So then I'll take all these and that's a terrible, that's not even. There we go. Let's do this one. And then I'll do, are we gonna cut these up for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean, they're not leaving until they have a bite, so we may as well.
So then I'll make these a little
Otherwise,
smaller.
it'll just be messy.
Right. We'll just cut them as evenly as possible and everyone can fight over it. And you can make them even smaller because they're definitely sweet and sort of like, candy-like.
Right.
So yeah, that's
They
the
pack a punch.
Scotcheroo. That's pretty easy.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what's the history of the Scotchie, or this? What can you tell me about the?
This was one that was not super clear. I don't know if this was something that came out of the Kellogg's company, because there were a lot of, once the Rice Krispie treat was invented, there were a lot of cereal treats that sort of followed.
Right.
Some didn't kind of hold on as well as other ones, but I think a lot of those like post-war sort of recipes really were just like, what do you have that you can use in a bunch of different ways? And the same thing was true with potato chips. I just did a virtual event last week where I made the potato chip shortbread. So it's a potato chip shortbread with chocolate chips.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of potato chip shortbreads that popped up, or potato chip cookies in the 1940s. That doesn't answer your Scotcheroo question, but my point is that's what you could sort of assume.
It was sort of necessity is the mother of invention. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is an interesting element. And
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that.
Shauna, Sever, you rock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was a pleasure.
This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do you have another piece of cake?
I'll eat the whole thing if you let me.
Cool.
But yeah, no, that'll do it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.